Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome into the Sundown Cafe. My name is Ryan, and this is my wife, Janene, and we are Rhythm and Joy. And tonight we're going to share with you in this episode a song called My Lord Knows the Way Through the Wilderness. And this song was written by Sidney E. Cox. And Sidney lived from 1887 to 1975. He was a psalm author and a composer. And in 1907, Cox moved from England to Canada. And in 1908, he joined the Methodist Church, but soon converted to the Salvation Army, where he worked from the years 1909 to 1944, and eventually becoming a major there. After he left the Salvation Army, he devoted his focus to evangelical revival work, and over the course of his life, Cox has authored or composed approximately 400 songs. So, pretty prolific songwriter there.
Yeah.
This happens to be one of our favorites, as all of these are on our set list. But this one has some special meaning to it that I'll let Janene share with you how this came to be on the list, and then we'll go through the lyrics.
Yes, so last fall, my uncle went in for routine cataract surgery, and basically within a week, he had lost his eye.
Wow.
And when I spoke to him just a couple days after the surgery, he said that he had gone to church, and that when I asked him about how he was doing and how he was facing this change in his life, he basically said, "My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow." Mm-hmm. And that just really inspired me and has stayed with me. That stayed with me for months. And when COVID-19 came into our lives and things just started really changing, that song just kept coming to me, and the faith of my uncle kept coming to me. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to add this song to this list, to this Sundown Cafe Where Could I Go list, and talk a little bit about what that means. My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. So the lyrics to the song are quite simple, actually. Mm-hmm. My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow. My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow. Strength for today is mine all the way, and all I need for tomorrow. My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow.
Short and sweet, mm-hmm. Simple,
yeah,
but powerful.
Yes, really very powerful.
Yeah. You know what I find interesting on this, in how he shared that, mm-hmm. and how meaningful it was for him. This was a song that went way back in his life, right? And we've talked about this before. When you have a song that's that meaningful to you, it can carry you through.
Yeah.
Years later, mm-hmm. through something very difficult.
Yeah, that's true.
That's exactly what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Powerful. That's why we enjoy music and songs so much. And we believe that, they have power, to transform your life.
To bring joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the question comes then, based on the lyrics, mm-hmm. What is the wilderness?
Yeah.
What's your take on that? What is the wilderness?
Well, if someone said, we're heading into the wilderness, I would expect barren places, probably parched. Not a lot of rest stops along the way, right? Yeah, I would expect land that would be helpful to have a guide. I wouldn't want to get lost in the wilderness. Right? I would not want to get stuck there. And I wouldn't want to be alone in the wilderness.
Great points, all of them. Yeah. So then the other question becomes, how do we end up in the wilderness?
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, first off, to me, the wilderness is a way of describing the challenges that we face in life. Mm-hmm. It's a metaphor for that. But there's really two paths that I believe, take place in our life that will move us into the wilderness. The first one is circumstances around us that are out of our control. Perhaps a death of a loved one, maybe an accident that takes place that creates bodily harm or something of that nature.
Like my uncle.
Like your uncle in that case, yeah. So lots of different things can happen in somebody's life that will put them into a tailspin, so to speak, right? Or now they find themselves into the wilderness. And so then the question becomes, what do we do when we're in the wilderness? But I will add, though, that there's another way that we can wander into the wilderness, and that is by choice. Not that we actually want to, but by the choices that we make. We talked about this in previous episodes where we give into temptation, right? And so when we give into temptation, we are choosing to walk into the wilderness, and it can create harmful situations. So now we're dealing with that. So those to me are kind of the two ways, either by choice or by circumstance, that we find ourselves in the wilderness. So when I was kind of digging into this, as far as Scripture is concerned, I really came across two different people that I felt in the Bible, in Scripture, that I felt really gave a solid picture of what it means to deal with adversity, with challenge. And in the Old Testament, of course, that's David. In the New Testament, that would be Paul. And so with Paul, he was imprisoned over and over. He was beaten. He was stoned nearly to death. He himself wrote that he was in danger of robbers and from his own people. And in danger both in the city and out in the wilderness, those were his words. He was in danger at sea. There was a couple times he was shipwrecked. And yet he was always rejoicing, right? No matter what the circumstances were. In fact, he wrote in Philippians 4, verse 4, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice." And when I was looking up the scripture, that kind of led me to another scripture, just a couple of verses after that I didn't put in our notes here. But here he's saying, just a couple verses later in Philippians 4, verse 6, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God." Right? So be anxious for nothing, regardless of what your circumstances are. Be anxious for nothing. And when we think about David, he was twice in his life. Once early in his life, he was driven out into the wilderness by King Saul, his predecessor, who thought David was a threat to his throne. So he sent his army after him, and so David found himself in conflict with Saul's army. And again, later in his life, his own son was trying to overthrow him, Absalom, and again sent an army after David, which drove him into the wilderness. So David understands what it means to be in the wilderness, and in fact, most of his psalms, not most, but a lot of his psalms deal with himself being in the wilderness. And remarkably, you find that his response is always one of joy. And in Psalm 63, verse 1, he says, "You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water."
Sounds like wilderness.
Right? I also wanted to kind of revisit Psalm 118. Remember back with the Dottie Rambo song, I Go to the Rock. We talked about the stone being the stone that the builders rejected. That was later on in that psalm, but earlier in that psalm, verses 5 to 7, David says, when hard pressed, right? So in the wilderness, he's hard pressed. I cried to the Lord. He brought me into a spacious place. The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? The Lord is with me. He is my helper. I look in triumph on my enemies. So with those two as our examples, with both Paul and David as our examples, we can, if we look closely enough at their suffering and hope, at their sorrow and joy, we can find comfort for our wilderness. So that's kind of what I've taken away from this little dig into what this song means. It turns our wilderness into places for us to explore. To me, that's kind of removing myself from the circumstance, not allowing myself to be consumed with where I'm at. I can look at a place of wilderness. I can look at a place of challenge as an opportunity to learn, right? And so that's why I think David and Paul are able to rejoice in those situations. Any final thoughts that you have about any of that?
Well, I was just wondering, how do you follow, and my Lord knows the way through the wilderness. I kind of picture Jesus, that Jesus was here, Jesus walked this earth, Jesus was tempted. I think for someone who is walking closely on an intimate level spiritually with God, that they could actually sense that presence on a daily basis, right? When there are decisions that need to be made to help guide. That feels like it would be, I guess, to be the song, My Lord Knows the Way Through the Wilderness. It's this personal sense of, if I said, Ryan knows the way to Canada, or wherever it is we're going, right? Ryan knows the way. There's a confidence that comes with that association. My Lord, if I said, my husband knows the way, right? My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow. And I think that's what I felt when my uncle said this. It was so personal, it's my Lord. So he has this close relationship with the Lord, and he can put his trust in his relationship with the Lord, with Jesus, right? And all I have to do is follow. There's a sense to me in that of release, of relaxation almost, right? I'm picturing, being someone taking your hand and leading you through.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
And in fact, that's what I pictured when he said this, having lost his eye, and moving into a space of blindness. At 84 years of age, that's got to be frightening.
Yeah.
And to be able to rest on this feeling of my Lord knows the way. All I have to do is follow. So all I have to do is, in a sense, put my hand in his, and he's going to lead me where I need to go.
That's good.
And that's the feeling of that in terms of what we're dealing with today. As we're dealing with COVID-19 right now, and things being up in the air, and a lot of people's lives again being just uprooted and shaken.
Yeah.
To say, my Lord knows the way, is a pretty powerful statement. Also, if you think about it in terms of even politics, right? There's so much uncertainty in so many aspects of our lives, that to, again, be able to say, my Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow. Is a reassuring statement.
Yeah.
And to actually be able to feel that when you lay your head on your pillow at night, to be able to feel that sense of faith and trust, comfort, relaxation, in a sense, lack of fear.
You're at peace with whatever circumstance you're in. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you kind of touched on it a little bit ago, and that was that, you know, the Lord knows the way, but He's been through the wilderness.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to hit on. You had mentioned that it's good to have a guide. And a guide is somebody who knows the terrain.
Yes, they do.
Right? And so we know that Jesus was led into the wilderness to be tempted, and He made the choices appropriate to get through that wilderness.
Yeah. So to have that faith connection, I think, is pretty powerful. If we could all feel that sense of, my Lord knows the way through the wilderness, all I have to do is follow. Strength for today is mine all the way, right? And all I need for tomorrow.
Yeah.
My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And we have actually a little bit of a conversation with my Uncle John, and we will share that with you.
Stay tuned for our interview with Uncle John.
It was on the 17th of October last year, 2019, when I visited the doctor's office for cataract surgery. And I sat in the chair, all expectant that things will go well in the 12 to 15 minutes that so many persons told me it would take. I've been suffering from just a little blurred vision over the years. It wasn't acute. And so I had time to prepare myself for it. And so, okay, I'll go and do that. I had my prep visits prior to that date. And I chose the lens I wanted them to put in. I chose the most expensive lens then, because I thought that let me have the best that they have to offer. And I sat in the chair, and the nurse came and prepared me for surgery. And I recall when the doctor began the surgery, maybe just about 3 minutes into the surgery, I felt the discomfort, and it was sharp enough for me to react. Of course, I could not move very much, but I did twitch a bit. And that happened a second time. And again, I could not have resisted twitching. It was just, as it were, my reaction to feeling something going on in my eye. I didn't expect to have felt anything. And after the second or third, if it happened a third time, I cannot recall, but I know it happened twice. And after that, I felt nothing, absolutely nothing else, until I was taken out, or perhaps I should say I was disturbed, because I must have been sleepy. But I was taken out to meet my wife, who was waiting for me in the office, in the lobby. And she asked me, what was I doing so long? I said, I don't know. I don't know. It's as though I was now awakened from sleep. And she said, but you have been in there for a long time. And she made it very clear to me that I was there for 4 hours. Now that was surprising because I anticipated a 12 to 15 minutes, surgery. And then she said, okay, we are going home now. And I felt dazed. I felt I was not myself.
Mhm.
And we came home. I hardly knew where I was, believe me. And but I felt like going to bed. I just felt like getting into bed and just relaxing. I had no energy to do anything at all, not even to sit and listen to music or anything like that. And I did go to bed. I just wanted to go to bed.
Yeah.
And I did go to bed. I fell asleep. And I probably got awake late in the evening. And again, I didn't feel like even getting out of the bed. And I wondered, well, what was happening? About 9:30, I got awake now. So I must have slept again. I got awake 9 o'clock, 9:30, with very severe pain in the frontal section of my head. Severe pain. And Patsy asked, well, how are you feeling? I said, oh, my head is hurting terribly. And that pain went on until she said, well, I went back to the office and got some medication for you. Would you take this? And I drank again painkillers. But it did not help because I laid in my bed there suffering because I didn't want to appear, chicken in any way. I laid there and I took the pain until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And she said, if this is still so painful, something is wrong. Well, I knew that we were due back to the office approximately 7 or 8 o'clock the next morning. So I said, all right, I will wait. But the pain was out. And I went back to the office, and Patsy had given me some more medication. And then on examination, I realized that the doctor was concerned. She used a large light and, shut it in my eyes. And then I heard when she said, there's no vision. And that was Friday morning. There's no vision. Mm-hmm. Well, that threw me for a loop when she said that there's no vision, because I thought that things were going normally, but pain was something that I would suffer, because I know pain comes with surgery. She said there's no vision. And then she asked to, she called somebody else. She called another doctor who came in, and they consulted. And I think at that time, they also spoke to Avanel, my daughter, in Indianapolis. They spoke, they dressed my eye again, and I think they sent me back home. That was a Friday. I came back home and things were not better. And there it was. Now I am wrestling with this that I heard. There is no vision. Will the vision come back, whether suddenly or gradually, I don't know. But for that Friday, I wrestled with the situation. I kept quiet as much as I can because I said I want to do nothing to aggravate, to disturb, or to worsen the condition. That morning, we were back in the office again. And then Avanella said to her after an examination, and nothing had improved, she said, send him up to me. Now, that again lifted the situation to another level. When she said, send him up to me, it means that I will have to, in this state, get myself ready to travel. And then the doctor who did the surgery said, why let us go to the hospital. Let me send him to the hospital. And well, she fixed the papers up and we went to the hospital. By that time, it was after midday. We went to the hospital and I waited there. We got into the doctor's office there, and he said, okay, we'll have to take an MRI, I think it was. And we went in for the MRI and we waited, came back, and he said, well, nothing is wrong with your platelets, because I think that's the reason that the eye doctor had sent me there, to check to see what was the condition of my platelets. He said there was nothing wrong with your platelets, in terms of the amount or whatever he would use as test, or evidence that I'm okay. And then the thing began to dawn upon me now, that we have to now think of traveling, to pack for traveling as soon as we could. I didn't even know at that time when we would have been able to travel. And so Saturday night came and went, and Sunday we got ourselves ready. And when I realized Sunday morning that I could not have even packed my suitcase. In fact, for years and years, my suitcase and my briefcases were semi-packed because I traveled so much. So it was not to put too many things in, but I could not have even tidied up my suitcase. I didn't know, I didn't feel that I was in this world. Life was not the same for me. So I knew by then, something went wrong, and my own feeling, what is going forward? What am I facing going forward? Because there was nothing more encouraging than after the lady had made that statement on Friday morning. But we said, okay, we're going to travel. And Monday morning we were up again and out. I went to a few offices, checking on my electrical bills and so on, because I wanted to leave everything intact, paying some money in advance for cell phone. So I went around Monday morning, doing what I can with Patsy. Of course, she was at my side. Every step I made, she was at my side. And then the same Monday night, all of that be running against time. This Monday morning, I had to do all of that, and it came home to me. Sometime there that I could not have even packed my suitcase. A friend of ours, a member of the church, came in and was helping me pack my suitcase. And even that I was not totally in control of. And I realized, listen, this is a change of life now, but Lord, I am not afraid to go through. I'm not afraid to face life. I'm going forward. But to say it was a challenge from then is an understatement. And then we had to get to the airport. Fortunately, we have good neighbors. And one of my neighbors, who usually took us to the airport when we are traveling for some years now, he said, okay, I will take you. I didn't even know how the tickets were procured, but Patsy and the same gentleman's wife was working on the tickets, and she's good at the computer, and she got the tickets. And then Patsy said, okay, I have the tickets now. We have to go. All of that from St. Croix to St. Thomas, and from St. Thomas to Atlanta, and Atlanta to Indianapolis. And when I got there, we waited a little, and then we saw Abby came and Kristen came. It was a joy, a relief, even though I had the problem, to have seen them. And and they helped us with our luggage. We got into the house, and I remember when Kristen said, "But Daddy, you're trembling." Yes, it was a little chilly, but I was dressed for the cold. But Abby thinks that it was just the stress of the situation from Friday until Monday afternoon, And he touched my knee and said, "Daddy, you're trembling." And well, I haven't forgotten that statement. And I said, dear me, this thing probably is getting to me. And Tuesday afternoon, we rushed to the appointment we had. And as we got to the office of the doctor who was supposed to make an assessment and give us his feeling on the situation, he said, I don't think that we're going to be able to save this eye. And he took an ultrasound, he did his best. And then he said, no, we can't save it. It's too far gone, and we'll have to remove it. And so he said that we must remove it quickly because it could affect the other eye. And then I realized I'm in deep trouble now. I mean, I'm sailing in a rough seas now. Remove my eye. Oh, dear me. But again, if it has to be done, it has to be done. I still had life. I still had Patsy by my side. I had Abby there. So I said, well, it's just a matter of adjusting to the change. Whatever comes, well, let it come, And I've always live with the mantra, as long as I can breathe, I know that the worst has not come. For if I can breathe, I'm still alive, and I'll just have to face what's there. And the next afternoon, we went for surgery. Yes, thank God, many of our friends were there. Patsy's sister was there. Patsy was there with me. Abby was there. The pastor of the church was there. And the anesthesiologist was there. And he was the one who, he was a good friend of Abby's, and he held my hands before it was his time to begin to put me to sleep. And he offered a prayer. And just from the grasp, when he held my hands and he knelt down, I felt I was in good hands. And after an hour and a half, I came to myself, and they said, it's all over. It's all over. And the nurse who was there as I came to, she spoke to me for about half an hour. She was speaking, Patsy was speaking, Abby was speaking. So they got proof that I was back again to myself. And I felt thankful that, yes, the operation was over, my eye was gone, and it was a new life. It was a new life. And that's it, where the loss of the eye was concerned. The other areas, visiting the other doctor to get my glasses, because I had to change my glasses, and to get the prosthesis done, those are other chapters of the incident, but I think that I've given what you have asked me for so far.
Yes. So a couple days after the surgery, I recall I spoke to you, and you said you had just gone to church that morning. And you said, you've been to doctor's visits all week, you can get out to church. I thought, wow, yeah, for me, I probably would be home in my bed with sheets over my head. And you were so encouraging to me, Uncle John. And yes, I'm envisioning what a huge change this would be for your life, for you and for Aunt Patsy. Just facing this, such a challenge, and you're not in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s.
That's right.
Just what an enormous change this would be. And yet you were so positive. Aunt Patsy, how was this experience for you? Do you have anything you'd like to share about just coming through this?
It was not easy. It was not easy at all. when I realized the morning that he visited the doctor after the surgery, and he shone the light in his eye, and he said, "I don't see anything." It's like, okay, he has lost that eye, you know. And I realized that you're going to have to live, continue living for the Lord with that disability. What's good about it that he has recovered and has made a very, very good adjustment to take over. God has seen the way through the wilderness, and we are yes.
Yeah, you've been an amazing inspiration. Tell me a little bit about what you were feeling when you shared with me, "My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow." Can you tell me a little bit about that song and just what that meant to you?
Well, as I said before, I have had some incidents in life prior to what happened last year that told me that God is real. And from my studies of the scriptures, from nature, and from my experiences in life, I know he's real. I just felt I had the strength, I had the courage. Let me go and serve my God. So I went to church, had a fairly good morning. It's a little emotional at one time because they sang a song that was dedicated to myself and Patsy, and that was a touching moment. That was a touching moment. The praise team rendered that song. It was a touching moment. But we had a good morning, apart from the emotional few minutes that we had in church. So when you called me the afternoon, I felt strong. I felt strong. I had gone to church, I had worshipped. And then I said to you what I said.
Yes, my Lord knows the way through the wilderness.
And I said, yes, the Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is to follow. I knew that song from long ago, growing up in the church. My sisters and brothers would sing, and the song came back to my mind, and I felt it was a way of expressing my trust in God. And I wanted you to know that I was in his hands. I was in his hands. And I still feel that way, I'm not afraid of what life has to offer. I just want to know that I am prepared. I'm prepared for the future. And that's why I face life. I have my challenges even now, because I still feel that I am flying like a bird with a broken pinion. I can't see as I would like to. I know my limitations.
How often would you say songs give you encouragement?
Oh, many times. Yeah, all along, songs have encouraged me because I try to see the message or the messages in songs. And from my studies, I know that songs have been made because of inspiration. It's like a poem. You can be inspired to write a poem. And in the quiet moments, words, thoughts come to you that are from heaven, whether it's through an experience or through something that you behold, maybe the sky, a beautiful flower, the strength of the wind, the roaring of the sea. All of these things aid inspiration. So I do look into songs for the message they convey, and I know they convey messages, deep messages. In college, there was a teacher there who taught use of English, you know, and it's for you to read something and try to plumb the depths of the words that you read. And she taught that words have meaning. And as a pastor now, I try to choose songs to match the message, the sermons that I preach, because those songs would aid, they would prepare the congregation for the message, and they would solidify the thoughts coming from the message, you know. So I am keen on songs, and I listen well to what people say to me. So I listen well to what the authors of the songs write from time to time, and I know, you know, some write and some would give the music or provide the music.
Yeah.
So the songs mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
I don't take songs lightly at all.
Yeah.
So when I hear you and Ryan with the, you know, the giving the message of the song, I said that's good. That's good.
And I think it's because songs really mean a lot to us too. And that may be one reason why it struck me so powerfully when you said that, when you mentioned that song, My Lord Knows the Way Through the Wilderness, because it is encouraging and it is something that you can carry with you.
Time will heal my situation. I still have concerns, yes, but I don't worry on Judy. Time heals, and I long for the day when time will turn into eternity.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Blessings to you both.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah.
That was a great conversation that we had with him. I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to do that Zoom call.
Yes.
Yeah, and get it recorded. Yeah.
Him and his wife, Gloria, who journeyed along that with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a lot of support from his kids as well. But yeah, it was just really inspiring. Really inspiring. Yeah, my uncle is a man of really deep faith.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed that time with Uncle John. We'll just leave you with some final thoughts. If we look to him when we're thrown into the wilderness of suffering, he will lead us to a secret sanctuary of peace, strength, hope, and even joy.
My Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow. Have a good night.
Good night.